All right, well, let's move through to tonight's topic tonight, and it's all about how to really use AI with your business to build a powerhouse small business. Can I see, just by a show of hands, I should say the speaker tonight is me, so you probably gathered that because there's no guest here. Can I just see by a show of hands who here is currently using or actively using, not just playing with it, but actively using AI in their business? Just give me a show of hands if you're actively using it. Okay, great. Who here is not quite there or not really sort of using it in their business yet? Okay, great, perfect. Okay, so the majority of us are actively using it, and some of us are not really using it, or yet to get there, or maybe are not going to use it. Second thing is, how many people have automated a significant number of their systems and processes in their business? Let's just see a show of hands there. Okay, so a few of us. Who is yet to automate, a good chunk of their business? Or one. Okay. All right, so interesting thing here, just a quick survey there. Most people are using AI in some shape or form in their business. Not many of us are have got automated systems and processes in our businesses. So the two, even though separate, they do go hand in hand together as well too. So let me just bring up my screen and I'll see what I'm supposed to be talking about tonight. All right, where are we? This one here. And let's head over here. And let's get on to presentation mode. And there we go. I've got a screen for you, and I have a screen for me as well too. Now I've got lots and lots of slides tonight, but I'm not going to go through all of the slides. We're going to go through the ones that hopefully are going to be most relevant for you tonight as well too. And this topic tonight is the reason why I guess I've chosen it is two reasons. Apart from being very interested in AI and automations, for my business and working in other people's businesses, it's also a question that I get, or questions that I get quite often, is around how to effectively use AI and automation in business. And on this particular show here, I'm profiling apps and tools that you can use in your business, some of them to deal with some automations and AI. So tonight is really about some of the principles in using some of these tools. It's not so much a tools-driven presentation as in lots and lots of apps and tools. It's really about process. So, talking about process that you can then go and plug these apps and tools into it. Because without an effective process, then, you're just going to end up with a collection of apps and tools that do a great job, but they don't do a great job for you because it's not, you don't have any sort of consistency or workability with it. So first thing is AI and automation. What is it? So the context we're talking about is business. So I'm assuming that everyone that's here tonight is in business or has a business or is considering getting into business. So really what AI is, it's a bunch of computers around the world that have access to pretty much all of the world's data at incredible speed and are able to process that data very quickly to come out with the output that it comes out with. So what these machines can do, if you think about where we started with computers, or certainly when I was at university, it was a mainframe computer that had punch cards that you physically had to punch holes in and then feed it into the machine to get it to spit out some form of output at the end of the day. If you made a mistake on the punch card, you had to go away, create a new punch card, come back with it fixed, plug it in. So they were big machines. They took up rooms at the university called mainframe computers, and organizations had rooms that were dedicated to these mainframe computers. And then what's happened over time is that the computers have got smaller and smaller. So you've got your desktop computers. So that was your IBM that first came out. but you have desktop computers that they're getting smaller, but what they can do is more than what the previous generation could do. So like your desktop computer today has got far more processing power than the mainframes back in when was that? Back in the 80s and earlier. And then we get down to very small devices, which is your phone that you hold in your hand, or your smart devices in your hand. That's got more processing power in it than those mainframes back then. So what we've got is we've got devices that have got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, but in our hands we've got more and more capability, so that the current time, when you're using the likes of ChatGPT, you've got massive amounts of data that you've got access to, that you couldn't do sort of even 4 or 5 years ago, but everything's at your fingertips. But here's the other interesting thing that's happening with it as well too, is that you remember those mainframe computers that were really big computers that sat in a room at the university or the organizations? The size of the computer buildings now, Meta has just built or is in the process of building a new building, and it is the size of Rhode Island in the United States. So think about it, the size of a suburb. So we're not talking a few blocks, we're talking about lots and lots of blocks, one building housing multiple connected computers. So accessing it on your smart devices, you are accessing something that's bigger than a mainframe computer. And these things just produce volumes of data at very, very high speed. So that's really the world that we've entered into. The way and really when we're talking about AI and automation, we're talking about being able to systemize repetitive tasks and processes at speed and scale accurately without human intervention. So the idea, these things will run without human intervention at all. So, and there are businesses out there that are 7, 8, 9-figure businesses. I think there's almost a billion-dollar business, or in the billions, that is running with 1 or 2 employees. So they're running essentially with AI and automation and agents. So large businesses, businesses generating lots of revenue with just a couple of people running the businesses. So if you think this is out of the realm of us, it is well within our realm. We may not have the knowledge to be able to do that at the moment, but we don't need the knowledge to do all of the things they're doing, because we've got these AI processes that we can create, we can extract the knowledge out of it. So has anyone done this here? Have you ever gone to ChatGPT and asked it to write you a prompt to do something? Has anyone done that? Just a show of hands. Yeah. So these large language models now, you don't need to know what to do. You can actually ask it to tell you what to do. It will give you the instructions to instruct it to get what it's going to do to get the results that you want. And so anyone that's, I know there's some digital people here. If you write code, anyone that's in the coding industry would need to be a little worried, because ordinary people like us who've got no coding background can go into just ChatGPT today and you can create apps. So it will write the code in behind it, and you don't need a developer anymore. Now I've got someone that I know who has been who's been writing some apps in ChatGPT. He traditionally used developers, and going back and forth with developers had been a bit of anyone's done that knows that it can be a bit of a nightmare, and you've got all sorts of communication issues that trying to get out of your head to the developer to understand what you want, and it's sometimes a very long process to get this sort of app that you want. These days you can get an application developed in probably the space of about a week, because it just takes you that time to get it done. Sometimes quicker. You can get done in a week just with you what would take 6 months or a year to do with a developer. So that's really the environment we're in, and this is you without any coding knowledge being able to do that. You're just describing what it is you want these machines to do. So the reason why I talk about that is just to give you some context about the capability that is now in your hands that wasn't present even 2 years ago. So this is all really quite new. The AI agencies that you see popping up all over the place now are really only 2 to 3 years old. So there are firms out there that are making millions of dollars in this AI space, working for organizations, creating, AI tools and agents for them, but they are only 2 to 3 years old. And the skill set that they've got has been developed only in the last 2 to 3 years. So we're not talking about university degree, needing university degrees that take you six years or 5 years. We're talking about sort of things that are just moving at such a speed that, and this is stuff that you've got access to as well too. So does that give you some sort of context as to where we're living now in, well, I was going to say in the business environment, but in the world, yeah? So really what we're looking at is AI is really about systemizing repetitive processes at speed and scale accurately without human intervention. So why are we using AI? Well, there's a couple of things. As humans, I know that the sort of human that I am, I'm a very inconsistent person in the sense that I'm not particularly good at following things through to a conclusion. I'm really good at starting things, really good at creative stuff. I'm not necessarily good at following systems and processes and following things right through to the very end. If you have a look at my computer, you will know I've got folders in there of ideas that I've started and I've got partway down the track and I haven't finished it. But with AI, what that allows you to do is to actually finish what you start and to run it without you. So to give you just a really easy example of that there, who here has got a newsletter for their business? Just a show of hands, if you've got a newsletter that you send out by, let's say, by email. Okay, a few of us. Who here knows, a show of hands here, who here knows that they probably should have a newsletter that doesn't currently have one? Yep. What's the block in terms of creating a newsletter? Why don't we do it? And you can come off mute if you want to just give us an answer about that. Anyone? In fact, I might just stop the share while we do that.
Time.
Why do we not do the things that we know we should do in our business, like a newsletter?
Are you there, Nick?
How quickly the weeks roll on. This is what my clients tell me anyway. So I always say that they should have a Friday wrap up and all the gifts that they've given to people, the value that they've actually delivered every single Friday, let's say, could be any day. However, the weeks roll around so quickly. So the excuses they give, it's like everyone knows it anyway, or they've already looked at my stuff anyway.
Yep. So it is not true, and time is generally the biggest excuse. Too many things on, we just don't have time to fit it all in. Yep, perfect. Michael Flynn, that was. There we go.
Oh, g'day, how are you?
Good. Did you have your hand up?
I was just saying, yeah, I agree, definitely major lack of time. So dealing with other priorities and you mean to get around to it, and then the topic you were working on is irrelevant later on. So then you sort of back to starting again, and doesn't
100%. Yep. And often it's inspiration as well too. Like, what do you write about? How do you write? How do you sort of get all these topics together? Or over one newsletter a week for 52 weeks. For me, it's hard enough getting guests on a show like this, every week for the 52 weeks. That's never. So you think about doing a newsletter, it actually takes a bit of work and effort to do it. Con.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue, Nick, is where do I start? Do I use ConverterKit? Do I use one of those platforms? Do I use MailLite? What do I use? I mean, where do I start? How do I start? It's that even with AI, people I find just don't know where to start. How do I get a start? So I think that's the biggest issue with newsletters is where do I start? What do I use?
Yeah. Anyone had that issue before? Not whether it's newsletter or something like that. It's just like, where do I start? And actually just getting started. Yeah. And me too, as well too. So these are the things that we know that should happen in business, but we don't do it, not because we don't want to do it, but because we get stuck at some point along the way. And we might get stuck at the start, we might get stuck partway through, or we just don't get it finished. And so nothing works if it's not finished. Even if you get it to 90% complete, it's still as good as having it sort of not even starting it. So the key to this is actually finishing things and getting them launched. Paul.
Yeah, hi Nick, good day. I wished you'd asked this question in about a month's time. The answer at the moment is no. I'm about to, and we're well advanced in doing so. The newsletter I'm looking to do is monthly, and it's not so much about me, but more about, or what I do, but more about my clients. I'm looking to feature 5 clients in each month's newsletter. We're almost there. I should have done this about 15 years ago, so I'm kind of catching up, but we're almost there.
Excellent, excellent. And can I ask, what's your process for putting this together?
So I'm not good around technology, as you know, but I do have lots of connections. And in fact, perhaps if I could just tell a quick story as to why I'm doing this and what came about. So I know lots of people, and businesses engage me to introduce them to people I know that are their ideal clients. And for one client, I was writing out, seeking to introduce them to particular people I knew, and I wrote to 5, and in one particular week. And of those 5, 2 of them came back and said, "Look, thanks, Paul. That was really, really interesting to know. But in fact, a month ago, we signed up for a party in a similar field. So look, thanks, but no thanks." And so look, I've got 10,000 contacts in my database, and I realized that by the time I get through, if I'm doing 5 a week, by the time I get through, we'll all be dead. So hence I decided I need to do this newsletter. So that was the process. And I've been working with people who are good with technology. And as I say, we're all but there. So looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. So the real key is going to be the consistency once you start something, is actually just keep
Yeah,
going.
look, I don't see that as a problem, to be honest. The other thing, and excuse me talking too much, but apart from it being good for my clients, the 5 clients that I'm going to feature each week, it'll obviously be good for my business too, because my contacts will actually see more about what it is I do. And I think it will also generate inquiries from people I write to who I haven't featured, saying things like, "Hey, Paul, I see what you're doing. I'd be interested in appearing in your newsletter. How do we go about doing that?" So I'm just annoyed at myself that it's taken me 15 years or so to do this. That's all.
And the good thing about that is you're not alone. I'm sure there's others here that are in exactly the same boat as well too, including me for some of the things that I know that we need to do. Excellent. Thanks, Paul. One thing I would say too is that often when we talk about, let's say, AI and automation, a lot of people are thinking about creating content. So they're looking at, say, using ChatGPT to create content. And that's really about the extent of where they go. So that's this really early stage of AI. So I think, to pick up Gail's point there about in your industry being a book writing coach and doing editing, one of the biggest risks there is that, and one of the things that people see is that you can write a book using AI and these large language models.
Not necessarily good quality book, but yes.
100%. But nevertheless, people think that they can do that sort of thing, and they can as well too. So, but very quickly, how many people have found that the result that they get out of say ChatGPT or Claude or whatever is relative? It can sometimes be quite substandard. Yeah, anyone had that? Yeah, and so what you get is, unless you've trained it, I know Con's trained his pretty well, but this is the average person. It's reasonably substandard. It's fairly generic. It sounds like not you. It sounds like everybody else's content that's come out, because the same words are used, like no fluff, game changer. Let's be honest. Let's be real. All of these things there. And the M dash in it, the long dashes that come out, and the other tell, emojis. So I remember when I started using emojis in my post, I did that because it stood out. Now it's the same. Everyone's using emojis because that's what ChatGPT uses. So to stand out, get rid of your emojis. So we're doing the opposite of it all. But what we've got is fairly sort of inconsistent stuff. The other thing I should say about ChatGPT for us to be concerned about is that there is so much content that's been generated with ChatGPT that's going out onto people's websites, into social media, and across anything online. But answer the question, what is it that these large language models have been trained on? How have they done their training? Anyone know?
Exactly. By plagiarizing and thieving.
Okay.
It's American English.
Yep. But the training of it's been done across everything it can get its hands on. So it's like books, papers, websites. So just like Google's crawled the web for the search engines, the large language models have got the same information and they've just fed it, dumped it into this database, and then it's using some logic or algorithm in there to bring it together to spit it out. So it's still using content that is out there on the web to train itself. So I want you to think about this now. If there is lots and lots of content now being written by ChatGPT, by AI tools, that is now out on the web, on people's websites and in social media, the large language models are using it to now train itself. So it's now using that same content that it's generated to go and train itself on the content that it's already generated. So you've got this loop coming back in now, which means that if it puts out anything that, so if people have taken stuff that is incorrect and put it out into the web, the large language models are using that to train itself as input to go and train itself. So what potentially is happening is you're getting this loop there that now is getting more and more incorrect information. So they're having to find ways to filter out the stuff that these machines are created itself, that put out there, so there's not training itself on the stuff that is really incestuous. So that's a real problem for content generation out there. So one thing I would say, if you want to be successful with your content, don't use the large language models to write your content. Use it to help you organize your content, to edit your content, but your original stuff comes from within you. So you're using the information you feed it to then help to organize it in a way that makes it, say, well written, and so it's readable and people can use it. So if you think about just that very simple thing, don't use it to create content, use it to help you to publish your own content. Does that make sense? So the way that I use it is like this session tonight this is my source content. So each of these Tuesday night sessions is what I use to generate content. So out of this, I get a transcript. So it's an easy way to get a transcript. If you upload your videos to YouTube, you'll get a transcript there. So you can copy the transcript of that content, or you can use something like Otter, or I happen to use one called grain.com. And you can get a transcript from that, and then you use that transcript, feed that into ChatGPT, and you are then going to prompt it and ask it to create content only from that document, only from that transcript. It's not allowed to go out into the web. So the guardrails you put there is it can't go out into the web to go get any other sources. It must only use what's in that transcript. And so now what you're doing is you're using this language model to organize the content that you've got in there into something that's an article, into social media posts, but it's highly original content because it's your content. Well, it may not be highly original, but these are your thoughts and the way it's presented. Does that make sense? So create content that way, as opposed to starting with something so fairly generic. So my favorite is always starting with video, because when you're talking, it is more natural to talk than it is to write. You often talk differently to how you write, and you get sort of a lot more of your emotional feel into it as well, and your values and your thoughts. So that's the first thing around your content, is really digging into what's important for you and speaking. So whether you do that direct to camera, just yourself, if you struggle with that, or you're not, sit down with someone else, have a conversation with them. That's the next easiest way to do it. And if you want to share the load, you have a conversation about your topic, get them to ask you questions about, what it is that you want to talk about, and then switch roles so that they do it. You're doing the same for them. So both of you are getting content out of it. So if you go to about 20 minutes to half an hour's content, that's all you need. That'll give you about a month's worth of social media, or a month's worth of social media content and blog content to use. So, and if you think about that, who hasn't got half an hour to have a conversation? And so if we think about that time, it takes a lot of time to do it. If you want to write a newsletter, here's a great way to write a newsletter. It's going to take you half an hour to record it, and then maybe no more than 30 minutes to run it through, say ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, whichever is your tool, to come out with a pretty decent output. So it'll take you about an hour a week, just to get it all done. So and you could probably streamline that even further. So that's really your content, but the purpose of this was to say that AI is not just about content. It is about so much more than that. The way you create content is not by asking it, but by feeding it the information that you want and asking it to organize it for you. All right, so let's have a look at the evolution of business. Where are we? Here we are. So this will just help us to understand where we are with AI and automation. And that there has been an evolution of business from pretty much when it started, but let's just call it, the 1800s. And so what that evolution was if you think about a motor vehicle, it's an evolution of motor vehicles. Back in the 1800s, it was horse and cart back then. And things were fairly localized. So with the horse and cart, you couldn't go far, or if you did, it took you a long time. So things were all very localized in very local communities. And then what we got in the, what was it, the 1920s, was it? Henry Ford. So that's when you've got the motor vehicle coming along. So you've got a manual car. Think about it in business. If you think about your horse and cart, that's really where you're starting in business. So you are having thought bubbles at the time that you're executing and really creating and doing things. A manual car is that you're in control. You've got a bit of speed in there. You've got some but essentially you as the CEO, you're the owner of the business. You're the one actually driving it, and you are sort of changing the gears in the business. But effectively, the processes are probably in your head and you're doing it. Then comes along the automatic car. And so you remember that automatic car was always more pricey than manual cars. These days, it's the other way around. So think about this is putting in place some automated systems in your business, so that the vehicle you're using or your business will actually just run on a series of automated businesses. So that's probably about where we are at the moment. Most people know that you need to have systems in place and some forms of, I was going to say automations, but really systems that run themselves. And it has been up until now, people in place to run those systems, well documented, and doing things consistently the same over and over again. Then we get what was the domain of large businesses, which is now really in the domain of sort of smaller businesses now. That's having a chauffeur, Uber or taxi. So this is where the business owner doesn't necessarily need to be in the business. They're not in control of it. Someone else is running the business and the processes. So that might be having a CEO in place. It might be having some core staff in place to actually run the business. So that's your small businesses that have got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 staff, 20 staff. That's this sort of business here. Fair to say that there are some business owners that are still very involved in the business. So they are somewhere in between, sort of having an automatic business and having something which is they're pretty much hands off. So we've got businesses in this area right now. This though is where we're headed: self-driving businesses. So you've probably heard in the news that, or I think it was even just this week, there's a company in the States that claims to have the first self-driving cars that I think that are allowed to be used on the road as self-driving cars. These are private motor vehicles that are self-driving. So, and you look at Tesla, Uber, and the motor vehicle companies are all looking at sort of creating self-driving cars. Business, this is where business is heading as well too. So think about your business as being something that drives itself. It doesn't need you. This is where AI and automation really comes into play to drive most of the systems and processes. Anyone frightened by that, or who's frightened by that? Who's excited by that? Yep. So others in the fence as well too. Yep. So that prediction of the Google senior developer to say that information jobs are going to be lost over the next 12 months, and he was including in that positions like CEO, CFO, so all your C-suite as well too, because those businesses rely on people making decisions based on information and data. If AI and automations they're using data to make decisions, they can do that better than humans. Or I shouldn't say better, they can do it quicker than humans and be consistent with it as well too. So probably your safest professions to be in are going to be trades. So if you're worried about AI taking your job. So at this stage, if you are a plumber, an AI agent or bot can't clear a toilet, can't lay pipework, that sort of thing there. So trades, probably the ones that, interesting enough, are going to be the safest or are going to take the longest to actually automate. Having said that, if you've had a look on some of the tech channels, you'll see that there are commercial buildings being built or 3D printed now. So they don't need of human labor in there. They can just have these 3D printers that actually just create and print these buildings early. So it may not be 100% safe. Elon Musk is talking about what do they call it? Universal income. So he was saying just recently that is going to need to be a necessity with AI coming along, because all of these people are going to be losing jobs. So I think you'll find that there will be jobs that are going to go. The question is, you as a business owner are probably best positioned because you've got something that you're in control of. You can use the tools and effectively you're going to be replacing some of the people you might have employed. So one of the things that I think is going to happen is that the VA industry, virtual assistants, is going to change dramatically. So what's going to happen is that some of the work that actually two of my VAs are on here at the moment, so I don't mean to scare you. We're still going to be tracking along with our business here, but you'll find that the tasks that VAs are doing are going to be assigned to AI agents and AI tools. So the question is that if you have VAs, how are you going to be using them to advance your business? And effectively, that's going to be to help you to generate income and reduce your costs in your business, to give you the lifestyle that you want in your business, and also give them the lifestyle that they're after as well too. So there's going to be quite a shift in that VA space, I think, with automation. One of the shifts is going to be, though, is that those that are very skilled with some of the AI tools are going to be the VAs. So if you've heard of the company Go High Level, which is a CRM, the country that is now the leading place for certified Go High Level, what do they call them, administrators, it's the Philippines. And the reason for that is that people in the Philippines, they've got an economy of virtual assistants. They are training themselves up like crazy to work with Go High Level. And a lot of people in business, like on our side in Australia, New Zealand, US, don't really understand how to use Go High Level, but we've got a VA team that are very competent in being able to use it. It's not a hard tool to use. It's just that it's a willingness to be able to get in there to use it, but also to understand the power of it. But yeah, Philippines, if you're looking for help there, that's where their economy is going, is really heavily into AI, because they can see the opportunity, they can see the threat and the opportunity. All right, so why bother with AI and automation? Here's some of the comments that I've had from people that are in business saying, well, I don't think it's going to come along sort of too quickly. I'm actually doing okay. I'm going to keep doing what I do. I deliver a good product and service. I want to keep the human touch, and I don't want to be involved in any of the AI tools because it's going to remove the humanness of it all. Problem with that is that that might be your case. You might be delivering a good product or service, but your competitors out there, and some of the competitors out there and some new entrants into the market are grabbing these AI tools and automation tools and are doing what you are doing quicker, better, more effectively. They may not be doing it better, but they're certainly doing it quicker, more effectively, and able to do things at a speed that you are not able to do yourself with what you've currently been doing at the moment. So if you ignore it, then it's going to be like Kodak. Remember Kodak cameras? Anyone seen a Kodak camera or those Polaroid cameras recently? I mean, there's not many of them around. I think there's a company making them again for the Gen Zs, because they just see it as a gimmicky toy. So it's coming back around again. But Kodak rejected digital technology, even though they had it, and they had the capability of creating digital cameras. So they already had that technology. They said no, it's never going to take off, and they got rid of it. And they didn't like it as well. And as a result, that company no longer exists. Think back to horse and cart. How many people do deliveries these days with a horse and cart? So there's not many. Ridiculous example, but Peter, Thailand maybe, yes. But the people that ignored it are not in business anymore. So and we are moving so fast with this. Remember when the internet came in, and it was a bit of an interesting thing. It was a bit of a fad, and people said, "Oh, look, it'll never take off. Who's going to use the internet? What are you going to use it for? Who's going to use emails? You can write to them or send a fax." These days, who doesn't use the internet? So how long? That was about, I think it was about a 10-year process for that to, from when it came along to really where it had mainstream adoption. AI, it's been 2 years. So, 3 years, sorry, 3 years effectively. It was in November in 22 when ChatGPT came out. We're in 25. Almost everyone's using it. So that's the speed of things that are happening now. So you can't afford to sit back and not do anything with AI or automations, because this time next year, your business may not exist. So that's the sort of speed that we're looking at the moment. So really now is a good time to jump on the bandwagon, to start learning about it, start adopting it, and start using it. And it is easier than ever before to do it. So what you've got in your hands now is the capability that was only available to large businesses like a decade ago that had a large number of staff, and we're running sort of with very high costs. You've got it in your hands now with one of these devices. Actually, I'll tell you how I used it the other day. I had a meeting with someone. Actually, I had a meeting with Tim today, and what we did was we're effectively discussing a strategy for Tim's business. And so because one of the tools I used is Limitless. If you have a look at Limitless, that's a tool there that records your conversations. You can actually get a wearable device that you can, for about $300, that you can just put in your pocket or hang around your neck. Records everything you do during the day. You may not want that, but that's what this tool does. But for some reason, it wasn't working on my phone. I turned on Zoom. We had about, what was it, Tim? About an hour and a half conversation, I think it was. All recorded on Zoom. I'm not very good at taking notes. And when I do take notes, I can't read them. And when I come back to my office, I put my notebook down on my desk. I'm pretty wiped out. I go and have a sleep on the couch, come back. Something else is on my computer. By the time I come back to my notes tomorrow, I've got no idea what we talked about looking at my notes. So we had Zoom going. And so the thing about Zoom is was they have a transcription, grab the transcription, put it into ChatGPT, asked it to give me a summary of a meeting, and not only the summary, but what are all the action steps that we said that we were going to do. And then from that if there are ideas and suggestions, haven't quite got to this part yet, but this particular meeting, I can ask it to flesh out a step-by-step process based on what we talked about. That will happen in the space of about 3 to 4 minutes. And you think about sort of doing that the old way, it would take hours to do that. Think about creating a proposal. I went to another business. same thing there. They were looking at voice and video AI agents for their business. We had a conversation around it, recorded I didn't record that conversation for some reason. I didn't record it. I had to remember it. As soon as I got outside, I opened up ChatGPT and I sort of word vomited into ChatGPT everything we spoke about. It had all the information and I spoke to it. So I wasn't typing it, I spoke to it. And then it gave me a full rundown of everything that we spoke about in there. And then I got it right through to the point where I said, I need you to generate a proposal for me based on the conversation that we had. And it generated a proposal for me, which was pretty good. I just needed to tidy it up a bit, wasn't too much. It did it for me before I got back home. So I was still out when it did that for me and I was talking to it. So no longer do you have to wait till you go home to create the proposal. You can do it on the run. Now, how many people have know that they've had to write a proposal for something and they haven't done it, and then they procrastinated on it, and then the day went by, 2 days went by, and by the time you get to sort of the end of the week, you think, oh my goodness, I can't get back to them now. I'm so embarrassed. I haven't actually done it. Anyone done that before? So I've done that. I've been guilty of that. So here's a way you can just get things done at absolute speed as well too, without needing to have things perfect. That's a good thing about AI. So think about some of these use cases you can use for your business, just talking into the machine, into the matrix. And I'm a big advocate now of just talking, into ChatGPT. You probably know that I'm an advocate of talking because I've talked enough tonight. But when you're using it with these large language models, you can do quite a lot. So I'm going to give you a step-by-step process for taking your business from the horse and cart. Well, I'm hoping you're not the horse and cart stage. I'm hoping you're either in the manual car or the automatic car stage. Some of you may even be sitting in the back seat of an Uber at the moment. But with AI and automation, it can be overwhelming. Here's one key to the whole thing. Do one thing at a time. There are 100 things you can do. And if you attempt to do even just 5 things that you don't finish because you're on to the next thing, it's as good as having done nothing. Because if you don't complete it, you don't get paid for what you don't complete. Only get paid for what you complete. So you want to complete your tasks. So if you've got 5 tasks to do, only start one. If you're going to automate things, start one. Take it from start to finish, right till you get to the end. When you get blocked, and get stuck because you can't work out a tech tool or anything like that there, work through that either by asking someone or using the likes of ChatGPT to help you with it as well too. But make sure you get to the end and launch it, test it, and refine it and deploy it. So if there's nothing else you take away from today, do that. Over 12 months, you'll have a pretty good systemized business. And all we're talking about with AI is systems and processes. That's all AI is really there for in the context of business. So let me pull up my screen again. Which one is it? Okay, let's go with this one. Okay, first thing, whether it's pen or paper, whether it's an app that you use, make a list of all the systems and processes that are repeatable things that you are doing currently or someone in your organization is currently doing. And the best way to make that list, have a pad of paper down beside you. Even though I'm a tech guy, I'm still a bit old school. I've got a pad of paper. As soon as I'm doing something that I see is I've done this before, write it down. You're just writing it out. Do that over the course of a week. Just write down the things. You won't capture everything, but you'll capture enough there. So that's the first thing. What can you automate in your business? Write it down. So these are the repetitive things. Even things like if you're doing sales presentations for people and you do more than one, that's a repetitive thing. So you write it down. You may not automate all these things and use AI for all of it, but you want to write it down so you can get a system around the whole thing. Now, unlike the old days with systems and processes where you actually had to go and write the things out, you don't have to write them today. So you're not going to write any systems and processes. Going to use the AI and tools to be able to do that. So that's number one. Number two, prioritize it. So have a look at the list at the end of the week. Have a look at the list, and probably the best way to prioritize it, well, the way that I do it, is a 1, 2, or a 3. A 1 is that this is very simple. 2 is it's moderate. 3 is this is actually going to require quite a bit of thinking in behind it. So you're going to prioritize them by easy to hard. So not by what's important to least important, but easy to hard. And the reason why we're going to do that is that you may want to start on systems there that are the more difficult ones, or the ones that you'd like to get off your plate. Start with the easy ones. The things that you can automate today, it might take you today and tomorrow, stuff that's really easy to do, and you'll get some quick wins under your belt. Once you start to get some quick wins under your belt, it will give you the motivation to keep going. And it's a bit like the budgeting tool that people used to use, where you pay off your credit cards, you consolidate your credit cards. Logic dictates you should pay your highest the highest interest rate credit card off first. You'll get there quicker if you do that. But psychologically, it takes a long time to do that. When you're paying off that one there, psychologically, if you pay off the smallest debt first, and you complete it, because you've completed it, it gives you motivation to get onto the next smallest one. So don't attack the largest, you attack the smallest. So even though it's logical to do it the other way around, it actually works doing it this way here. So start from easy to hard. Then the next thing is actually go through and systemize it. So here are the tools that I use to automate and to create those systems. One of my favorite is grain.com. If you've got Otter, that does a very similar job, and even Zoom these days does the same job as well. So I should say I use Grain with Zoom. So when you are doing something, or someone's doing something, record the system and process you're doing. So just get up Zoom and just record it. The easiest way to do it. And while you're recording, talk about what you're doing. So if you talk and record, then what you'll get is you'll get a video of it. And then what I do, which you probably don't need to do these days, but I take the video, I'll put it into Grain, upload it into Grain. You could upload it into Otter, or these days, Zoom has got a tool where it transcribes everything anyway. So you can just use that transcription. And then what you can then go and do is to grab that transcription, put it into ChatGPT, and you can ask it to write you the process. So that's how you're getting the AI tools to write you the process. And then more than that, if you are using a tool like Go High Level, and you've got some tools inside Go High Level to systemize some of what you're doing, let's say onboarding for clients or sending email sequences to clients, then you can ask ChatGPT to give you the process and the instructions to put it into your CRM system. And so it will give you the process. And that is exactly what I do. So that's how I build my CRM and systems. I use it in tandem with the likes of ChatGPT. Sometimes I like Perplexity because it gives a slightly different result, but run it that way there, and you'll find you are quicker and more efficient with it. So pick a task and take it right through from recording it, ChatGPT, get your instructions into your CRM, do the automations in the CRM, get rid of it, test it, finish it, and set it live. So, and once you've done it, tick it off your list, move onto the next one. I can tell you in the early days, one of the most significant automations that I had was sending out reminders for invoices. So I was one of these people that didn't like to chase people up for money, because when you start chasing people for money and you're delivering a service, the relationship can get confused. So what I did was, and this was like several years ago, I set in place reminders for 7 days, 14 days, 28 days. I think I had a couple of others as well on automatic. Now, when I set that live, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be terrible. People are going to come back and complain, and they're going to think I'm a terrible person because I'm asking them for money. But you know what happened? People came back and they apologized because they were late with the invoice and they paid it. So that was just a very simple example of systemizing something that it is a blockage or something you don't like doing. but then it takes it off your plate, and then you can move on to something that you are more productive with and more in line with. Does that make sense? So this is what you're doing with your list that you got. You're just progressively moving them all into a system in sort of ChatGPT into your CRM, to the point that go high level. So that's the CRM that I use. I mean, my branded model of that is iConnection, using AI voice agents as a receptionist. So when people call in, they're speaking to someone. Well, they're not speaking to someone, they're speaking to an AI agent, and that gives them the information that they need. And so many people have said, I'll never do that because it's impersonal. But, you know, when people call in and they actually get to speak to the agent and they get what they want, are they happy or unhappy about that? They're happy about it because they got what they were there for, and I wasn't available. I'm terrible at returning phone calls. Anyone knows me knows that sometimes I won't return a phone call for 3 or 4 days, not because I don't want to, but because I get busy and I forget, and they come back to my piece of paper that I'd written it down on, which I'd turned the page on, and you know, here's these calls that I need to make. So this way you can keep things consistent and people get the experience that they should be getting when they're dealing with you in your business. So thinking about, you know, answering your phone is a repetitive task. That should be on your list as well. So you can start to think about, you know, whether you want to or how you might be able to automate that. That thing alone will take a lot off your plate, and it will make a significant difference to your business. Even if you don't think you are going to like it, you will fall in love with it, guarantee you. And so the next thing is, I talked about, complete it to 100%, test it, refine it, and, you know, test it again and deploy it. Here we go. I've talked about some of these. So these are how I've used AI automation. Oh, the other thing I should say too about when you're using ChatGPT, stop asking it questions, get it to ask you questions. So people often use these language models as a search engine effectively, and so they're asking it questions. But if you turn it around and start to get it to ask you questions, so let's say, I'll give an example of that there. What you offer in terms of your product and service, put your offer into ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT to act as your ideal client and to start asking you questions about your offer. So, you know, what are the objections that you're getting? Get it to act as that client and give you those objections, the questions, and that sort of thing there. Why do you want to do that? So that you improve your offer and your presentation, so you no longer get those questions. So, and you can do that in conversation as well. Rather than typing, just to turn ChatGPT into conversation mode and have a sales conversation with it. And so what you'll get is a transcript out of it. From the end of the conversation, you'll then go through a process of how can we improve your process, your product, your service, your offer. Does that make sense? So ChatGPT to ask you questions, stop asking it questions. Do the basic stuff like make you a recipe tonight because you're too busy doing other stuff. But, you know, the important stuff, ask you questions. Here's another good way that is good to use it as well. I use it. There are people in my industry who are expert marketers that are the people that I look to when I'm looking for structure, advice, and frameworks. So typically I've got people like Jay Abraham, Amy Porterfield, Ryan Dice, Russell Brunson, Dan Kennedy. So those sort of names there that I just don't have any access to. Well, I don't pay for their coaching or whatever. I put it in and I ask ChatGPT to get their combined knowledge, wealth, frameworks, and how they teach to become a super marketer, and then to help me craft my content or craft my offer as a super marketer. So whoever's the expert in your industry, bring them into your team like that there. And you'll start to notice a significant difference in the sorts of output that you get in your content offers and, you know, building your business. One other thing with that is every business should have a board. And so if you think about, so a board is really the decision-making body for your business. So they make the decisions about the direction of your business, what your priorities are and what you do. Invite into your virtual board, create a custom GPT in, say, ChatGPT. This is your boardroom, and invite into the boardroom the best of the best that you know that are going to be able to help you in your industry. So for instance, who's the best entrepreneur in the world? Richard Branson. So,
Gary-
you know,
Gary V.
Gary V. Yep. So,
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Bring Donald Trump onto your board. Well, that might give you some interesting results. And then who is the owner of Berkshire Hathaway?
Buffett, Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett.
Most successful investor in the world. In fact, he's not only an investor, he runs businesses. So wouldn't it be great to have him?
I just learned the other day that he owns Xero.
Yes, he does. He does indeed. So imagine the someone on the board of Xero in your business. So you gather these people together and then have a board meeting with them on a regular basis, like every month or every couple of months. Imagine how that's going to sort of change your business when you've got those people on as board. So you're getting your custom GPT to act as those people to give you the advice that they would give you as your virtual board. So there's a couple of ideas that there will quickly, grow your business and help you to make some of the right decisions, particularly if you don't know what decisions to make, because doing what you do and what you're really good at is really quite different to building a business. Two different sets of skills. So what you're using ChatGPT to do is to help you to build a business around your skill set. So what you're offering is your skill, is your product, but you're trying to build a business that makes you money, saves you time, and delivers a consistent experience. Well, I hope you are anyway. One other word here. I would leave you with this here: tools. I'm probably leading you astray quite significantly by bringing to you every week a roundup of 5 online tools. So I really enjoy them because I enjoy getting into these tools, but it can be a nest of confusion as to which one you should be using. So I would say pick out the tools that are going to be useful for you. But I would also make this admission as well too. Most of the tools I talk about, I don't use. I use a handful of tools. I'm interested in a whole lot more tools. I try a whole lot of tools there to see whether they're as good as what I've got. But I can tell you that, and this is where it's sort of has really just been this year here, there's probably 5, 6 tools that I use consistently. That's it. And one of my main tools is my CRM. So the iConnection Go High Level, that is my go-to tool for that I use for pretty much everything to run my business, everything from invoicing, courses, programs, getting you here into this room here, all comes out of that as well too. But some of the other tools we use with it are things like Canva. So we don't have that inside Go High Level to create images and things like that. So there are some of those essential tools. And I use ChatGPT as well. Plus Grain was the other one, Zoom's the other one. But they really are just a few tools. It's not a lot of tools. So don't get hung up on trying to find a tool to do everything. I would say if I was to make you one recommendation is that Go High Level tool, whichever version you use, is, for me, I think would be your go-to tool for any business that is operating today, that is wanting to automate and to use some of the AI capabilities. If you're using that there and you are consistently building systems and processes inside it, very quickly you'll develop a very streamlined business that doesn't require a lot of your attention, and you can focus in on what you do well. All right, well, that is all I'm going to talk to you about tonight. Any questions, comments, or anything I haven't covered, anything you're expecting that hasn't been there? And just remembering we had about 40 minutes, but just a bit more now, to squeeze in how to turn your business into a powerhouse. What I've given you are the principles to get there, not necessarily all of the tech tools to get there. If you follow the principles, like listing everything, prioritizing, do one system until it's finished, launch it, you'll be well on your way. And try and minimize your tools. Just use one that's going to do everything. And again, that was Go High Level. Con.
Yeah, Nick, great session. Do you use any automation tools like Make or N8N?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I do try and avoid it as much as possible if I can do something without using it. Now, for those that don't know what Make or N8N is, if you've heard of Zapier, it's an equivalent, but they just do so much more. And it's a tool that allows you to connect other tools together and create automated workflows essentially. But yes, I do use it. Con is the short answer, but I try not to. But there are specific cases that I do. Yeah.
We need to do a session on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good idea. Thank you. Any other Paul?
Are you there, Nick?
Yep.
A couple of weeks ago, you took us through an automation tool called Closely.
Yes.
And that was where you were using it in terms of LinkedIn.
Yep.
And I loved what you showed us, but I'm equally concerned that I know LinkedIn don't like us scraping information out of LinkedIn and putting it into a CRM, which is what I
Yep.
think Closely does. And look,
Yes.
I've spoken to a couple of people whom you know well, and you know who they are, and
Yep.
they've cautioned me against doing it. I think the group would actually appreciate a comment because we're all aware of this, and I'd love to do it, but I don't want to be bundled out by LinkedIn and have my profile closed down. Can you give us some comments?
Yes. And this is consistent with any tool that you're using. One, you need to know the rules of the platform that you're using. It's very easy to get banned and kicked out and out of these platforms if for doing the wrong thing. And I know people that have. I know Aldrin's just got her group back again on Facebook after a long last for that. So it really is a call. Like Closely, I really like that because it automated some of the communication into LinkedIn. But the tool itself limited what it was doing in terms, or rate limited itself, so it wasn't sort of overwhelming the platform, so that it was effectively spamming the platform in the sense that it was sending out 1,000 requests to people to connect with, when that's an unreasonable amount for a human to do. So I think with Closely, if you were doing something that was as a human would do it, so you made 2 or 3 connections a day, and you use the tool like that, that's an acceptable use of it. I think if you start doing 100 connections a day, you're going to really have a problem with it. So yeah.
What about if you're doing, as we all know, you can do up to around about 100 a week. So supposing, and I am doing about 100 a week, just a bit under to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, am I pushing the boundaries too far if I was to use Closely to do that?
I would probably scale it back a bit if I was using a tool like Closely.
Nick, can I just add in here? As you can see, I've been doing it for 10 years. I know it virtually inside out. I would never, ever, 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 how many evers I have to say, use any automation tool. Because I've had clients who've had accounts suspended and it takes weeks and months to get them back. Chrome extensions are probably the alternative to something like a Closely. Have you heard of another called Taplio? It's been banned by LinkedIn. LinkedIn has banned Taplio, and they're really now struggling to get their clients back on board. Closely and the other ones, Apollo IO, they're all based on the same principle. Personally, I do everything manually. I've been doing it for 10 years. Yes, it takes longer. Yes, it takes a lot of headaches and it takes a lot of processes, but I'm not going to risk my clients and my LinkedIn profile to be banned. So that's my opinion.
So Con's advice is probably better than mine because he's in the that sort of world a lot more than I am.
But Nick, that's really, I mean, from your point of view, that's really dangerous. I mean, I love what you're doing, and I've spoken to our mutual friend Kylie, who's going to give you a call about this. But you're like me, you could not afford to have LinkedIn close you down, and that would just really bugger my business, and it would bugger yours too.
It'd be a problem. Yes, it would.
Well, more than a problem.
Yes, yeah. From my perspective, I tend to have more people like I communicate a lot more out of my CRM. So my tool is my CRM. If you're using LinkedIn as your primary tool or a significant tool, then I think having a more cautious approach would be.
Well, I'm like most of us here, and I use both LinkedIn, but I feed it into my CRM, which is Zoho, not Go High Level, and but I'm tying my VA up 2 days a week, putting everything into manually, which is what Con was saying, manually putting it into Zoho. If I can find a way of overcoming that, I'd love it, but not at the risk of being taken off LinkedIn.
Yeah. I see Con shaking his head still, so I'm probably more
cracking down a lot
less
more at the moment. LinkedIn is cracking down again. I've been hearing stories. LinkedIn is cracking down on automation. They're coming out with a big vigor at the moment again with automation. So they're looking to really close a lot of those stores down.
What about my most trusted? Is that sort of in that same
Which
bag?
one? The most?
My most trusted.
I've not heard that one, Nick. Sorry, my apologies.
Okay, yeah. So that's a Chrome extension.
Doing
as well,
it via your CRM is good. Look, if it's via Chrome extension, those ones are pretty much okay. It's the ones that scrape that LinkedIn doesn't like, and things like Taplao and those ones are scraping data. Chrome extensions are usually okay because they want to push you towards Sales Navigator. That's their aim because the Navigator is what they want to sell. So that's what they're trying to do, and that's they've got these really strict terms of use in relation to scraping of data.
So Closely is a Chrome extension. They've got their platform, but they're a Chrome extension as well too. But yeah. So probably it's a good topic to probably explore a little further. We've probably run out of time for it now, but I think yes, it is a very good topic to really sort of think through, particularly after you've got Aldrin on here who lost their Facebook post. There was some other person who lost their Facebook group as well. All not their fault, but that really is the environment we live in, and those are some of the risks that we've got with some of the AI tools as well too. So it really is also knowing the boundaries that you can operate within, and how far you want to step over the boundary or sort of stay within the boundary, and understanding the impact of it as well too. All right, well, that's probably all that we've got time for. We've gone well over time. Thank you for sticking with us, and thank you for those questions at the end as well too. If you do have any questions, or you don't want to sort of take any of this further, do feel free to reach out as well. If you do want to take the Go High Level for a spin as well too, you are more than welcome to. Like with iConnection, we've got a 4-week free trial of that there. So if you do want to see what its capabilities are and how it works, then you'll get an email tonight with the link into it. So feel free just to sign up for the free trial. There's no credit card or anything like that involved, but really just to give you an insight into it. And I'll send you out a video a day to show you how to use the thing over the next 4 weeks as well too. Just a short video, so you've got that in there. All right, well, that is our session. This will be up on the, YouTube channel tomorrow afternoon. So if you do want to watch it again, it'll be up there. If it's a topic that you think someone else might be interested in as well, it will be up there for them as well if you want to point them in that direction. Remember, Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook group. If you're not a member of that, go and head along there. We're going to put all the apps and tools up there as well. And if you want to save tonight's chat, go and do it now. If you click the 3 little dots on the top right-hand side of chat, you can save it, all the tools and there as well too. All right, well, that's our session for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for coming along and participating tonight. I look forward to seeing you again. Have a good night.